This is the third Tuesday of the month Waupaca City Council meeting.
To start out, we're going to have a public hearing, and I'll call this public hearing to order. Sandy will take roll.
Brian Smith. Steve Hackett.
Here.
Lori Chestnut.
Here.
Paul Hagan.
Here.
Alan Keeland. Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
Dimitri Martin.
Here.
Mary Fair.
Here.
And Eric Olson.
Here.
9 present. We have a quorum.
Okay, the purpose of this hearing is something that Justin is going to inform us on right now.
Yes. Thank you very much, Paul Mayo. This is for our sidewalk assessment or our sidewalk program within the city. So we do this annually. In the past few years, we've done this along with projects. Sometimes we do it just as a separate project. Here, it is a separate project, and like usual, it just follows our assessment process where replaced sidewalk is assessed back to the adjacent property owner at a 50-50 cost share between the city and that owner. The parcels, property addresses, and property names are listed in front of you on sheet or page 2 within the packet. We have a report and estimated cost at the clerk's office here at City Hall, which can be viewed at any time during regular business hours. And this is just the first reading. The final resolution, which will be given July 16th, as the July 2nd council meeting has been canceled. There is a typo at the end of the first paragraph. It calls out installation of nude sidewalks as part of the City Hall Library Square renovation project. That was an error. That should just say or state that this is replacement of existing sidewalks as part of our annual sidewalk replacement program.
Okay, thanks,
Yep.
Thanks, Justin. At this time, we'd be looking for testimony in favor of the subject. If anybody has any testimony in favor of the subject, please limit your time to 3 minutes or less. Any testimony in favor? Okay, any testimony in opposition to the subject? Hearing none, I'll declare this public hearing closed at 6:03, and we'll jump right into council meeting. And I will call this regular council meeting to order at 6:04, and we'll start out with Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next is the open meeting statement that Sandy's going to read for us.
This meeting and all other meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
Thank you, Sandy, and would you please take roll?
Steve Hackett.
Here.
Lori Chestnut.
Here.
Paul Hagan.
Here.
Alan Keeland.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
Dimitri Martin.
Here.
Mary Fair.
Here.
And Eric Olson.
Here.
10 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I forgot to mention, I was supposed to do this at the beginning of the meeting, I am pinch hitting for the mayor. I'm council president, and I have a choice of whether I can vote as a council member or not vote, and I choose to vote. So, next, we have the consent agenda. These are a grouping of agenda items that we vote on with one vote. If any council member has a desire to move one of these items to the regular agenda, now is the time to request that. Okay, not hearing any, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Hackett, second by Fair to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next is the regular agenda. We have no handouts, and so I would be looking for a motion to approve the regular agenda.
So move. Second.
Moved by Olson, second by Peterson, that we approve the regular agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 7 is non-agenda items and announcements. The first announcement is a proclamation of the City of Waupaca declaring July 3rd, 2019 as Buddy Poppy Day. I have to read it? Okay. Thanks, Sandy. Whereas America is the land of freedom, preserved and protected willingly and freely by citizens, millions who have answered the call to arms that gave the ultimate sacrifice, dying on the field of battle. While battlefields are on distant shores, we must be reminded of the price of war and the debt owed to those who died in service of our country. And whereas the first poppy distribution was conducted in 1922 by the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States of America, and today symbolizes the sacrifices of service members throughout our history. Established after World War I, through the poem Flanders Field, where the poppies grow between the crosses, row on row, the poppy has come to represent a sacrifice of life in conquest of freedom. And whereas the VFW poppies are assembled by disabled veterans, and proceeds from this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefit of disabled and needy veterans and the widows and children of deceased veterans. And whereas the basic purpose of the annual distribution of Buddy Poppy by Post 1037 of the Veteran of Foreign Wars in Waupaca is eloquently reflected in the desire to honor our departed comrades by helping the living. Therefore, be it resolved, I, Brian Smith, the Mayor of the City of Waupaca, Wisconsin, hereby proclaim the 3rd day of July 2019 as Buddy Poppy Day, and urge all patriotic citizens to pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom by wearing the poppy July 3rd and July 4th during our Independence Day festivities. Okay, that's it. Okay, that's it. Next, we have a presentation on Waupaca County Marketing Cooperative by Dave Teal, Executive Director of Waupaca County Economic Development Corporation, and Bill Zeinert? Zeinert, okay. Zeinert, my Marketing Director. Dave.
Thank you, Paul. So we're going to take this a little bit. You've been part of the marketing co-op as well as a member of the corporation for a long time. So this past year, we got a group of the board of directors together. Henry's your representative on the corporation's board of directors. And we decided to just kind of look at 2018 and plan out 2019. We wanted to make some adjustments with this a little bit. And so Bill Zeinert's firm has been our contractor on this project since the beginning. I think we're in our 7th year, something like that. And so Bill has been working with us on this presentation as well as implementing the changes that we've decided to make this year. So we're going to show you a little bit about that. And Bill and I will just kind of do this together.
Sounds good.
There we go. Okay, so I've talked about this a zillion times, probably, maybe more. Our demographics are not the best they could be. Everybody in the country is in the same boat. We all need people. We need visitors, residents, and specifically workers. And so part of this marketing co-op outreach really is to get people interested in Waupaca County and interested in the communities in Waupaca County. So this is just a quick what we've done with this program since we started. So initially it was a grant program from the Wisconsin Department of Tourism. They paid the bulk of what we did initially, the initial research. So they were with that for about 3 years, and then the money that got taken away from them or by their exit was made up for by the county's entrance into the program. And the municipalities have been part of this from the start. But those are just a list of the media and milestones that we've had over the last 6 years. Anything to add on that you want to say?
No, and I think it also represents the evolution of the scope of the project as well. Initially, the scope was 100% on tourism, and as we expanded the scope of the project, so too did our partner pool also evolve. The county got involved, the municipalities got involved, and I think we had a strong coalition to help spread the word far and wide, both local and regional, about what Waupaca County has to offer.
And brought in a number of businesses at the start, specifically.
Could you have Bill use this microphone?
Sure.
There's one on the bottom, too. I think there's one on the... It doesn't work.
I'll bring him up to the...
Okay.
Yeah, I'll shimmy up here.
So as I was saying, a number of businesses joined the co-op, and we did videos for those businesses. So they're a part of this too. And then we started concentrating more on community development in the later years, and that's when we started using our resources to do videos of the communities. So there's a number of Waupaca videos and all of the communities, and we're working on one currently on Waupaca Online to start promoting that as you're trying to grow that service. This is a quick snapshot of the budget over those amount of years. So it's been pretty steady. You know, it's went up a little bit and down a little bit, but we've been pretty steady the last number of years here. And the contributions from the partners have been pretty steady too. Again, these were a lot of the focus of when in the early years was really, you know, our quality of life videos to really generate awareness, specifically of all the assets in the communities. And now, again, we're trying to reach out and demonstrate the quality of life to people that might be interested in coming here and working here, and strengthens our community awareness, of course. These are the results from last year. So I'll let you talk results, really.
Sure. So inside the co-op, there are roughly 52 videos that we circulate into 3 audience areas. And by that I mean geography. We do a remote geography that includes suburbs of Chicago. So for those members who are like hotels, motels, that sort of thing, they get exposure in these larger metro areas. Again, very, very targeted, but still within that area. Then we have a more of a day tripper type route, someone with an hour, hour and a half of Waupaca County. And then we do have a local aspect as well. So we don't want to neglect our neighbors. And sometimes they'd be surprised what folks don't know is right next door to them in their own county. So with those 52 videos and with the budget that you folks helped provide, we were able to create almost 2 million impressions in 2018 in those 3 markets, accounting for over 800,000 views of these videos. And for us, this is always our goal, is to deliver this high level of impression. People can't visit a place that they don't know about. So step 1 is always awareness, and the program we feel adds a lot and gives some on-ramps to small businesses who might not have the dollars or the marketing sophistication to do this on their own. They can become part of the co-op. It's a reasonable fee, and their video gets rotated in with the 52 and shared in these specific markets.
And we use Facebook and...
Right. This typically through Facebook and your friends at YouTube. Between those 2 areas, we cover an enormous part of the population, and specifically within the tourism aspect, the consumption of videos as people plan vacations is shown to be in direct correlation with where they actually choose to go. So we feel like our video content has a strong role to play in that market.
And now year to date, we don't have May's up there, but we're doing really strong again this year with impressions and views. And I'm expecting it to be very close to last year. And we actually are getting more bang for the buck because we've redirected some of our resources into some other areas. So we're still really getting the recognition that we have been, and we're able to kind of stretch our dollars a little bit for this year. And that's what we're going to talk about now. So I know you can't really read this, but this is, we decided we're going to get back into the website kind of game. So we started there when we started this project, and then it became clear quickly that video was where it was at for us to get our name out there and get the communities out in front of people. So we stuck with video, and now this year we decided we need to go back to the website stuff and add that on. So we're not taking away from video, but we're going to go back into the website stuff and develop what we think will enhance what we're doing out there already. So this was just a outlay of what we were going to try to capture in the website, and we brought that in front of our ad hoc committee, of which Henry was a part of, and as we decided what kind of website what it was going to look like. This is one of the things that's popped up since we started this a long time ago. The county has a piece of software called Esri. It's a map-driven software which they allow me to have access to for free. So we're starting to do some of this mapping, and I'll show you a little bit about that later. But basically, it's just another way to capture assets, and we can do all of those things and put it on a map and put it in front of people and on their phone. So that's the other big change here over the 12 years is the phone. That's where everybody gets their information. So we are using an off-the-shelf piece of software that Bill and his firm researched and decided to go what's called Squarespace, and that's what we're using to develop the website with, because we know that they do all the work to make sure it works on phones. And I think that's the last slide, and then we're just gonna. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. The last and very important one is this year we're going to reach out even more to the large businesses that we have in the county, because they can really use the infrastructure that we've built here, and we've worked with a few of them already. Bill has been working with a couple companies already on this to, they need to attract new employees, and of course, using all the stuff that we've created and packaging it together and targeting it into a certain geographic area. That's what we do. That's what we've been doing for 6-7 years now. So we're going to start trying to do this more and trying to build more partnerships with some of our large employers. Obviously, Waupaca Foundry, I've been talking with them about this stuff for a while now. We have some of their videos running already, but we can take this to kind of a new level, and that's what we're going to be trying to do this year.
Sure. Well, why don't you bring up the website, and I'll just say a little bit about quality of life. Part of the partnership, or at least the resource we hope that we offer the large employers in the county, is an advocacy for living in Waupaca County. As Dave said, there's an enormous amount of competition for employees, and firms have to go a long way to recruit people in for specific jobs. For our part, we wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity to showcase the county so that they could share out resources and help make the case for the strong communities that we have here. So those quality of life videos, we hope, are a nice complement to the typical business practices that any of those organizations would make.
We have not launched this. We're expecting to launch this by the end of the month. So this is just still in kind of design, but we've got a lot of it that we're ready to go with. So again, basically I'm taking my very limited, crappy Economic Development Corporation website and moving it into here with all of the marketing stuff, because that site really was not worthy of even looking at. So that's part of what we're doing here. And then the other part, again, is capturing the marketing side of things. So when you look at this page right here, this is a lot of the economic development stuff. So the partners, the financial resources, the board of directors, et cetera, is all related to the Economic Development Corporation. And then on top is where we're really hitting the marketing side of things with the communities, education, and Waupaca County, where we're featuring, again, the assets that we have here to show to everybody. And we're not trying to do the be-all, end-all. So we're really trying to utilize the stuff that's already out there. And I'll give you an example of that. I'll just go quickly to your community. So all of these are linked to the communities, of course, to their websites. And then down here is where we start creating a lot of links to a lot of information that's already been developed. So again, City of Waupaca, and it'll just open up a new window, and it'll go right directly to your website.
So for the first time, the Economic Development Corporation's website really, I think, reflects the couple of dimensions that Dave and his committee work on. Certainly, the traditional economic development side of it, the revolving loan packages, all those things, still important, still a part of the communications. And we're adding to that dimensions of quality of life and tourism so that there's one place that people can go to retrieve information, and then the co-op program exports that information out to audiences, again, locally, regionally, and then as far flung as we can afford, frankly, to share the story of Waupaca County.
So here's an example down here. There's a link to the library, and then we did a video of the library a while back, so people can click on that. I won't pull it up, but it's basically the 2-minute video that Bill's firm did of the Waupaca Library. And here's the one I was talking about, the parks, right here. So that will just bring up a map in Esri, and this will come up really well on your phone. So all your parks are there, and you go in and you click on Swan Park, and it just brings up picture and information about Swan Park. And of course, you have the map there for getting around to it.
The GIS team at the county has done some pretty extensive work on mapping the bike trails at Hartman Creek are mapped along with some other silent sports pieces. It's available out on the county's website, and when we started connecting with that team, there seemed like a pretty natural fit to get word of those resources out to not only our local residents, but for those people planning trips. That kind of information is invaluable, and it's available because of the county's commitment to GIS.
We could do that kind of mapping with lots of different things, and then of course, that'll just go straight into your information about your development opportunities. So again, we're not recreating the wheel. I'm the person that's got to maintain this and do this work, and obviously this isn't the only thing that I'm doing, so we wanted to make it somewhat easy to keep going and keep fresh, and I think we found a good package to do that in. So we won't take any more time. I don't know if there's any questions, but that's kind of where we're at.
Any questions for Dave or Bill? All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next we have public input. Public input is a chance for the public to say something about a non-agenda item. If you'd like to give public input, please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Anybody? Okay, we'll then go to department head reports, and we'll start out with Kathy, as usual.
Thank you, Council President, council members. I do not have a report in the packet this week because I was busy with finishing up on the audit, and last week I was in training for our new budgeting software that I'll be rolling out next month to the council. So I do not have a report, but I will have one posted later on this week on the website for you to review.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. Peg.
Thanks, Paul. So we have about 700 people signed up for our summer library program, and this is really an opportunity to make reading and learning a priority in your life. And so many of those are school children who otherwise may not be doing those kinds of activities. We are having a Star Wars Day on July 11th from 12 to 4 with a movie following at 5:30. So if you are a Star Wars fan, you'll see lots of Star Wars war-ish kind of things at the library. We also have a survey out in the community. We hope that people who use us, as well as our non-users, give us an idea of where our future should go with the library. And at this time, we have a fine forgiveness program. We've recognized that those people who can least afford to pay those overdue fees are the ones that need the library the most. And we are seeing a lot of people return to the library, have those fees forgiven, and then come back in and use the library the way it should be used. And we remember, too, that in our community, there are 40% of our kids in school are on free or reduced lunch. So this is a real problem, even though it may be somewhat invisible. You can check our website for almost daily activities at the library. We have the Lunar Lab open, so our theme for the summer is the universe of stories, and hopefully you'll come in and have some space-like activities. And remember that technology, if you're having some issues with your phone, if you have a question on your Kindle or your iPad, come into the library and we can help you with that. We're really the place to go for those technology questions, and it's important work. For all ages. We do have a new adult engagement area, which includes crafts on Thursdays and Fridays just for adults. So stop in and see us. Thanks.
Thanks, Peg. Any questions for Peg? Okay, next is Andrew Dane, who's not here. Is there something you'd like
I'll
to
just
say?
do his when I do mine.
Okay, sounds
Because
good.
I'll have to think about what I'm going to say.
All right. Okay.
Caught off guard on that one, so
Okay.
sorry.
Justin, Public Works Director.
Yeah, my update can be seen on page 2728 within the packet. Wastewater side, our newest member, Sam Zabel, has passed his general wastewater exam, so he is now officially an operator in training. So now he just needs a little more experience to advance into grade 1. So we're keeping him engaged and pushing him to, I guess, better himself and further his training. He has taken a little interest at one of his courses. It talked about properly adjusting chemical feeds for disinfection and dechlorination before it's going to the stream. He took an interest to it, so now he is kind of taking it on himself to study that really close within our treatment plant to see if we can find any savings within chemicals. So thumbs up there. On Evans Street, we completed a trenchless repair of our sanitary sewer, which means we did not break ground. A couple trucks showed up, had basically concrete tubes, which they just fed into the sewer lines, and were able to basically balloon a concrete shell up within our mains and basically fix these repairs. It was the first time we've done that within the city. Typically, this type of work is fairly expensive. Here it was the most cost-effective way because our sanitary main on Evans Street is so far down, it's over 20 feet down that the excavators didn't want to go that deep. It's a difficult situation. So it was just wanted to make note of it as something that we tried new, and it worked out great. Speaking of Evans Street, the rain is not doing us any favors. Our paving crew, which we want them to get back in here and pave the final lift, have been keep getting pushed back due to the rain. So we're looking at getting that done before the end of the week here. So we have some more rain at the end of the in the forecast at the end of the week, but crossing our fingers, we're going to keep pushing them to come back and finish up. After that, all we have to do is put new pavement marking down, put new grass seed down, and then we should be opening. So hoping to get that done within the next couple weeks. We received a bid for our new snowblower, which I'll be talking about later tonight. On the water side, we had our rehab project start with wells 5 and 7 and 8. So 7 and 8 are within the Swan Park area. 8 is pretty much complete. They started work on 7, and shortly in the future here, we'll start work on 5. And I'll announce one final time that our consumer confidence report for 2018 for our potable water utility is available. It's on the website. You can call City Hall to request a copy. please, if any citizens are interested in knowing about our water quality, reach out to us and we can get them the information that they're looking for. Within the department, we purchased a new tool, a Trimble GPS unit, which is like a surveying tool, a survey and mapping tool. It's something that the Public Works Department is excited at using, basically update our mapping and use in conjunction with our GIS specialist, Rhonda Rollins. So what we plan on doing with this is Public Works staff will take this unit out in the field and basically be able to locate all of our facilities. So manholes, hydrants, valves, trees, sidewalks, anything you can imagine, and make sure that our mapping is 100% accurate. So we're looking forward to doing this, and with the help with other departments within City Hall. We have celebrating 1-year anniversaries for 2 guys within our street department, Zach Thorne and Brogan Kenzoria. Both had 1 year within the last month. Jesse Landry has 13 years. That's our wastewater superintendent. And finally, we have a retirement announcement. Randy Borkert is retiring after 24 years with the city from the street department. His last day will be July 5th.
Thank you, Justin. Any questions for Justin? All right, Andrew, Parks Director.
Thank you, Council President, Council members. We'll start with the Senior Center. They had a big event this last week on June 12th. Sorry, I almost said July there. June 12th, they had an open house to celebrate 50 years of being a senior center. It was very well attended. I think they didn't really keep track, but they served about 250 sandwiches, and not everyone ate there. So there's a lot of people there, and I just want to commend our Senior Center coordinator, Sarah, and her staff at doing a good job. They had presentations, they had some speaking, they did a lot of different things, and it was really neat. You know, a lot of these things that we've been doing lately have been affected by rain, including that, so we did have to bring it inside, just like Justin was talking about. But I think it worked out for the best, and there was dancing and a band and raffles and all sorts of good stuff. So good job to them, and very well attended, and they did pick up some memberships because of it, and that was a good thing there. Baseball and softball on the recreation side are finishing up. We have had a lot of tournaments coming in to Swan Park. 2 weekends ago, we had a bunch of teams for girls softball come in, and they did a wonderful job running that, the girls softball board. Baseball last weekend was the older kids. Saturday went well, Sunday did not. So that's the first time since I've been here that we actually had to cancel a day of a tournament. And then we have supposed to be having 28 teams this weekend coming in for another tournament, and we'll see how the rain goes for that as well. So almost done with baseball, softball. We'll be moving on to soccer very soon. On the park side of it, again, with the rain, we had a movie in the park scheduled to go along with Strawberry Fest this last weekend. That also got rained out on Friday, if you remember. It was a very rainy, wet day and cold day. So that will be... We'll try again on August 23rd. So apparently Cassandra has as much luck as I do with the movies in the park. We did some trail work lately, starting with some volunteers with our trail day off of Brainerd Drive. If you notice on the right-hand side, we were having some issues with some water areas there. The volunteers came up with some good ideas. We worked on it. Josh and his crew finished that off today. So you take a look at that, and that's a really beautiful area, and hopefully we fix some of those water problems that we've had. The big thing that got passed last Park and Recreation Board meeting was our mission and vision statement. So we've been going through strategic planning as the city. Part of that was me asking about departments having their own mission and vision. And so it was approved to use this mission statement and vision that I'll read off here for you to, and we'll use that in our advertising, our booklets, and that kind of stuff. And it was suggested that we do have our own, and it will fall underneath the city. Of course, we'll still follow that as well, but gives us some direction in the decisions we're making. So our new mission statement that we'll use will be the City of Waupaca Parks and Recreation Department strives to enrich the lives of our community members by providing creative recreation programs, quality parks, and engaging community events. And then our vision, where we want to get to. Our vision is to create a strong community through lifelong recreation. So that was passed through our park board, and we'll be using those in our advertising and to help us strive to do the best for our community. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Andrew. Any questions for Andrew?
I do, Paul.
All right. Chief Hozell.
Paul,
Oh, yes, I'm
do.
sorry, Paul. Okay.
how is the shoreline doing on the island and Brainerd's Bridge? I know that was a concern.
Sure. We haven't had any issues. We did take a look at everything. I think we kind of dodged a bullet after all that ice and water that came through. And so, even with all the extra rain and water that we've had, I think we're doing pretty good. So I haven't noticed anything, and I haven't heard anything from community members. But if there is an issue, I would hope that people would let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Sorry about that, Paul.
I have a question as well.
Okay, Dimitri.
Can you tell me what the status is of the community garden in Swan Park? My understanding is that the part of it is being used and the rest of it is not currently being used.
Sure. So that area out at Swan Park is generally used for two reasons. The one is the senior center uses some of them, and they can use spaces and get those through the senior center. We also have or have had a children's garden off and on throughout the years, and they generally use the other half. Last year, we've had children's garden since I've been here. Last year, the master gardeners who run that did not have anybody to run it. And I don't have the expertise to run something like that. And then we tried to do it again this year, and we had some people sign up, but not enough for the master gardeners to want to run that program. So we really got to try to reevaluate how we can use that space. But that's generally what it's meant for. Part of it is for the children's garden, and part of it is for the seniors at the senior center. So we're going to definitely try again for that children's garden because it's a great program next year and see if we can get it to run next year.
Justin, Andrew, I would have one comment or one question about that also.
Sure.
Is I've noticed the automatic or the timed watering is going on every night out there at the garden in Swan Park. And it seems like maybe we don't need to water that
Okay.
now. And it's watering the whole garden.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Josh. It's a little bit different of a system, so I think we'll make sure that it's turned off. But sometimes the people that have gardens there can turn it on and off as well. So we'll make sure that it's turned off. So thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, Chief Hozell.
Thank you, Council President. Council. My report can be found on page 11 and runs through 26. We just hired 2 new police officers. Ryan McCuskey, he has about 2 weeks in from our department. Brand new, he comes from Amherst, so he's been training for about 2 weeks. And on Monday, Randy Bush, who was a water patrol person and also worked out at Hartman Creek State Park, we just also hired him, and he will start on Monday and be sworn on Monday. So we're excited to have those 2 joining us. And also at the commission meeting, they discussed a patrol sergeant opening. So they're going through the process of that, and we're hoping to have that position filled by Labor Day. Other than that, we do have some nice flowers out in front of the police department. Those were donated by the kids at the high school. They went ahead and they planted, and they really look nice in front of the department. So other than that, everything else is informational in the packet.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Any questions for the Chief? Okay, Josh, IT Director.
Thanks. Our new phone system is going to be installed the first 2 weeks in July. The vendor will be here the first week to get the phones in place, and then the second week of July we'll cut over. So that process is moving along. I've been doing a lot of prep work to get ready for that. I've done some upgrades on our free Wi-Fi, a little bit at the parks, a little bit downtown, and then I've had some Wi-Fi at our Bruner hangar out at the airport since they've been holding more events out there. Last week, I released a request for proposals for new copiers. We've got 3 that are leases and contracts end toward the end of the year, and we've got 2 others that we own that are aging, so we're looking at replacing those, and that process is just getting started. And then with Waupaca Online, Ralph and I have been meeting with a couple people trying to keep the expansion project moving along. We met with the town chair in Deer Creek a couple weeks ago. We're meeting with the town chair of the town of Matson tomorrow. Those areas have a lot of interest, and we're kind of putting it back with those town chairs to get some relationships started locally with us, with people they know that have silos or towers to keep the project moving along. And then we've been doing some more marketing, some mailers, and some Facebook advertising and some other areas that we're targeting to expand into, trying to make some connections to keep the project moving along. So that's what I've got. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Any questions for Josh? Okay, next up is Henry, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. President. My report's on page 32. I think the big thing or most important thing I'd like to, relay is don't forget about the special council workshop next Tuesday. We're going to unveil the draft strategic plan. Think about this session as an opportunity to receive the information and, provide questions, probably some edits. We're going to begin that, I believe, at 5:30, a little bit early. And then again, the July 2nd council meeting is canceled. We just thought we could maybe switch those out to keep the strategic plan going. Now for Andrew Dane's report. I did touch on this a little bit in my report, but some economic development projects. We've all seen the Gold Cross project is moving along. For those in the public that may not know, they are operating out of the former River Hill Dental office. They're being able to bunk there and stay overnight, so that's where the Gold Cross will operate out of for probably the next 3 months, something like that. A few meetings ago, you approved the sale of some land to Wood Renovators in our business park, and that project is started. Then our foundry, we're starting work on that with them. It's a 70,000 square foot addition at their plants 2 and 3. And then finally, I've been working with Andrew, and we presented some information to the last Plan Commission meeting about how we keep the zoning code update moving. And we are tasked to come back to the Plan Commission at their next meeting, which was moved to July 10th, Plan Commission members from July 3rd. And we're going to give you a tentative schedule, and we also are going to propose that we update our comprehensive plan simultaneously because the zoning code should really reinforce the goals and objectives that you want to see happen in the city. So we feel we should do the comp plan update because the comp plan is 12 years old and it needs to be looked at. So those you'll be hearing a lot more about that. I'm guessing it's probably a 5 or 6 month process probably to get through it all, maybe a little bit more. So thank you.
Thanks, Henry. Any questions for Henry? All right, we'll move on to unfinished business. The first item is the mayor's appointment to the Joint Review Board, and I'll take care of that. The mayor appoints Keith Snyder to be the citizen member of the Joint Review Board. Having heard the mayor's appointment, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Keelan, second by Chestnut, to approve the mayor's appointment of Keith Snyder to be the citizen member of the Joint Review Board. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. I think that's it for new business, right? Or unfinished business. New business, item A. We have the presentation of the annual financial statements as of December 31st, 2018, and Kathy's going to lead us into that.
Thank you. My item starts on page 110 of the packet. There are several different moving pieces to our audit presentation this year. We did put the complete financial audit as a separate document up on the webpage, so We've been making our council packet a little bit bigger than normal, so I did make it a separate document, although in there is the presentation that Jay Bennett from Johnson Block is going to go over and some of the communications. So I'm going to.
All right. Good evening, everybody. So I'll go through this presentation quick. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me or ask them after we're done, or if even later on, if you have some questions later on. Kathy has my contact info, or Henry, and you can always get me questions. I'm happy to answer any of them. Going on to page 2 here. So again, our audit, we audited the financial statements of the city as of December 31st, 2018, and issued our audit report and some required audit communications to the city council. We issued an unmodified audit opinion, which is the highest audit opinion that you can give or get. It means everything is fairly presented. Otherwise, other type of audit opinions are adverse or disclaim of an opinion. It's the same opinion that you've received in prior years as well. Management looked over all our adjustments and financial statements and has reviewed and approved them. There's also a separate audit document that we issue. It's kind of our management letter. It's separate from the audit report, probably at the end of some of your handouts that you got. I will touch briefly on a few maybe minor bookkeeping or cleaning up things that we had some comments on at the end. Just some financial highlights. Cash is always kind of king, so here's a summary of cash balances as of 12/31/18. Sometimes payables, receivables, those types of things can play into how cash balances move up or down, or loan issues. But as you can see here, kind of some of the major funds, the general fund almost had 1.9 million in cash at year end. Water utility, almost the same amount, 1.883. And then there was some restricted cash in the water, which is usually for like debt reserves. Sewer had roughly $1.5 million in cash at year end, and the restricted cash was 1.3, almost 1.4 million there at the end of the year. Again, it's for debt proceeds. Sewer has a wastewater maintenance account that it has to keep, and also some other maintenance accounts. Overall, the cash balance as of December 31st, 2018 was roughly 9.7 million compared to 7.1 million or 7.150 there last year. So it's a pretty good increase, but part of that increase was some debt that was issued as well. So I didn't have a net income of 2 million. Almost 2.5 million. The next section down there kind of gets into your governmental funds and basically a net income across all the governmental funds, not including the water, sewer, or online entities. Had a net income or increase in fund balance of $464,416 at year end, which is a little bit lower than what it was last year, but still it's a good positive increase. The general fund, just to break that amount out a little bit, general fund almost had a little over $300,000 increase for the year. TIF 4 and TIF 8 had some increases there, $104,000 and roughly $46,000. Debt service fund, had an increase of $145,000. Capital projects fund actually had a loss that was planned to spend down some bonds and debt from the prior year, some projects that were incurred of $204,000, and then all the other non-major funds were kind of grouped here, had a positive income of $47,481. The water utility had a increase in net position, or basically a net income for the year when it was all said and done, of $33,159. And the sewer utility actually had an increase as well of $219,843. And that's in comparison to prior year. Water had a net income of $98,000 and sewer had a net income of $161,000. So sewer's up, water was down a little bit. Water did increase their rates in July of 2018, but I think there were several maintenance projects, some well rehab that was done. Previously, those things in another accounting had been kind of capitalized and amortized, but this last year they were expensed. And then there's the meter project, I think, was running out. So there was, a lot of more operation and maintenance expense accounts or expenses this last year than you had done the previous year, even though rates were raised a little bit. Page 4 here is just a pie graph, kind of your general governmental fund balances, just kind of a breakout. So there's different types of fund balance, non-spendable, restricted, assigned, and unassigned. And non-spendable is an accounting term. It's like reserved for advances, long-term notes, or prepaids. Restricted is like a debt service you levied. You have to spend that money for specific purposes. Debt service, TIF, it's an outside donor or legislation. So it's money that it's not really readily available for any operations other than its intended purpose. And then the assigned fund balance, $255,921 there, that's for some capital projects. The unassigned, which makes up the biggest part of that pie graph, 65%, is a negative $5.8 million. The reason being is because of TIF 8. TIF 8, over the life of it, hasn't supported itself, and it has a negative fund balance at the end of 2018 of roughly $7.6 million. So without that in there, you would have a positive fund balance overall. So this is a trend in your general fund balance. Shows the trend for the last 5 years. You can see fund balance has kind of gone up here. It dipped there for a little bit. The first year you had a loss and then kind of flattened out. And the last 2 years it's kind of gone up, which is good. So you're building your fund balance. You're not spending it down. Should have adequate reserves. Again, it went up this last year by that net income in the general fund of about $325,000 roughly. The general fund balance, the unassigned fund balance in the general fund was about 29% of your budgeted expenditures. The city does have a minimum fund balance policy that you've passed of it to be at least 20 to 25% of budgeted expenditures. So you're a little bit higher than that. And if it gets above 30%, then the fund balance, the excess is supposed to be moved into a rainy day fund according to your policy. But again, healthy fund balance, it's a good trend. Page 6 here is a pie chart of the revenues for the city. The blue part, the biggest part by far, is the taxes. The next, which is 58% roughly of your revenues that come in, are coming through taxes. The other biggest part of it would be, I guess it's the, can't tell with my glasses here in the lights, but intergovernmental there, I think it's kind of a dark green, roughly 24%. So between those two amounts, they make up about 82% of your revenues for the year. Again, your most significant intergovernmental revenues is you get highway aids from the state, shared revenue or shared taxes and restraint aid, some county library aid, and then the taxi subsidy. So those are what make up the majority of those intergovernmental revenues. This last year, licenses and permits increased, mostly due to some new construction at the county, some building permits and things that got issued. So that revenue was up as well this last year. Here's a graph chart of your property taxes, including the TIF increments for the last 5 years. You kind of see it spiked up here this last year after dropping in 2017. The total tax levy for this last year was roughly $5,375,509. Over this time frame, the average levy increased by about 2.8%, but this last year it only increased 1.48%. There are municipal levy limits, limits how much you can raise your levy. That is one thing that we do look at when we're audit, and have been in compliance with that as well. Another chart here, a graph, basically just shows your trend in shared revenues, those intergovernmental revenues I was talking about earlier, and then expenditure restraint income. So as you can see there, it's been pretty flat. Government or state hasn't really been increasing aid that much to municipalities, even though, costs and levy limits are out there. So it began pretty flat, dipped down a little bit this last year by about $7,000 compared to what it was the year before. And for 2019, I think your total amount is going to be about roughly $1,016,000. So it's going to dip a little bit again. Here is a pie chart for your expenditures for this last year. So the biggest part, 40% of your expenditures is in the red there, is the debt service payments. There was some debt refinancing that was done this last year as well. But debt repayments, paying off the debt, the principal and interest, both. The second largest expenditure there is the capital outlay, which is in the blue, was roughly about 17%. Public works was 11%, public safety 12%, general governmental spending was roughly 6%. The overall expenditures increased a lot this last year, roughly almost 5.7 million, due to debt refinancing transactions. Issued some debt and paid some debt off at the same time, but it shows up in the expenditures there as well. This here is just your change in long-term obligations for the governmental activities. It doesn't include water and sewer or online, but just kind of a debt table. Again, it shows you started the year with roughly 10.2 million in debt, bonds and notes payable there. Issued debt of about roughly 5.3 million and paid off debt of roughly 5.7 million. So general obligation debt on the governmental activities roughly 9.8 million there at year end. Then there's compensated absences. Business type mortgage revenue bonds roughly at the end of the year were 6 million. You are limited to how much general obligation debt the city can issue. It's basically 5% of your equalized value. So your general obligation debt limit was a little over 21 million there, 21,271,025. And again, the debt issued subject to that limitation was 9.8 million. So you still have a little over 53% of your debt capacity that you could use for projects if you need to do financing that way. For this, an audit communication, again, it's the required audit communications, city council and the mayor. Just a couple of things that we have in there. Again, as one is we have in there is a significant deficiency, which is a preparation of financial statements. That's common, I would say, in 99% of our audit clients. It takes some expertise to learn new GASB statements and to do the conversions from your fund statements to the government-wide statement. So that's nothing uncommon or anything against the finance. It's just, it's a very common finding. The other thing that we had in our audit procedures is recorded bank accounts. So part of our audit procedure is to send bank confirmations to various banks. It came back, and as part of that, we asked them to list any other accounts that may be under the city's federal ID number that we don't have listed when we're confirming those. And there was a bank account that came back this last year. I know Kathy's been working with that, and it's now booked on the financial statements. Again, usually you don't want anybody other than authorized people using your ID number or setting up bank accounts. It's one of those internal controls. Things happen. If you're Dixon, Illinois, if you ever heard that story, that was one of the things that happened. There was a bank account was set up that nobody knew about, basically. So, one of the things is sometimes is reaching out to areas banks and just making sure that all the bank accounts that you have are listed as a double check. We had a comment in the prior year, there were, that has been addressed and no longer comment, is the water utility labor allocation. Just making sure how labor is charged to the water utility, basically on time studies and those types of things. And we'd like to thank Kathy and everybody else that helped get the audit complete this year. We had a little snow issue for one of the days this year, but we got through it and got her done and issued. So that would be it for the presentation, guys.
Okay, thanks, Jay. Any questions or comments for Jay or Kathy?
I just want to add that with, again, having a positive fund balance within the general fund and showing fiscal responsibility, that this is also going to help us again with our bond rating. So I will be, during the budget sessions, probably bringing some recommendations for that extra money that's out there. One of them would be to buy down some of the sick leave banks in the departments and set up a restriction so that those departments that have retirements are not jeopardized into providing services because of a retirement. So I'm looking at that as a type of rainy day fund of use of that money. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to stop in my office, send me an email, give me a call. I'd be more than happy to sit down and explain anything that's in the audit report.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. Thanks, Jay.
Yep.
At this time, we'll need a motion to approve the financial statements and place them on file.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Hagan, second by Chestnut, that council approves of the annual financial statements as of December 31st, 2018, as presented by Jay Bennett of Johnson & Block and Company, and place them on file. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have engagement of external audit of financial statements ending December 31st, 2019. Kathy.
Thank you. My item is on page 149 of the packet, and going through again with this last audit and finding some more efficiencies. Instead of having the audit team come up and spend several days at the final, we've decided to start doing scans and sending it and letting them work down in the office. So save some costs, hopefully, going forward. Again, we're looking at a minimal increase in the audit, and I'm very comfortable in working with Johnson Block and the staff there, and with some of the consolidations of the auditing firms within the state that do governmental audits. Schenck is no longer doing audits. They've merged with Clifton Larson Allen. There's Baker Tilly out of Madison. So the pool of auditing firms that do governmental audits is getting smaller, which means the price starts going up. So I wanted to engage again, because we've been just going on extensions on a previous contract, a 3-year engagement with Johnson Block for auditing services with a 3% increase. But then again, it's only for billed services. So if we can continue to find efficiencies, we will continue to reduce our costs for the audit.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. Any questions or comments? Okay, be looking for a motion to approve entering into the 3-year financial statement audit engagement for all city funds with Johnson Block and Company as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Martin, second by Keeland, that city approves entering into a 3-year financial statement of audit engagement for all city funds with Johnson Block and Company. This is a roll call vote.
Dimitri Martin,
Yes.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
and Steve Hackett.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, item C, food truck rally request by Andrew Whitman.
Thank you, Council President, council members. So this is something that the city was approached by Nicole Zelmer. She came to, I believe, Henry first, and then Henry talked with me about this. So she came about the possibility of setting up a food truck rally. She is on her way to speak. She got hung up somewhere, and I've been contacting her tonight, so she'll be able to talk to you here in a little bit as well, or answer questions if you have questions. It was something new to me. I did some research and found out that food truck rallies are something that are growing in popularity. If you take a look and just type it in, which I did in Google, of course, there's quite a few of them around the Fox Valley area. And my first initial thought as far as this proposal or request goes was that it's a good way to bring people to South Park and to bring community members there. And you know, I like the idea of bringing people to one of our premier parks. I did bring this proposal, and Nicole came to the Park and Recreation Board meeting as kind of a request from them to talk about it, bring ideas forward, and approve bringing it to the council level because it does have to deal with one of our parks. I think everyone had some good ideas. We brought some good ideas forward. It was some good stuff. And I think everyone feels, city staff and park board members, this is a good way to gauge interest in food trucks in our area. And I know discussions between Henry and myself that, you know, if there is interest, I definitely feel this would lead to some sort of ordinance to regulate food trucks. I did a lot of research as far as what other communities are doing when it comes to food trucks and their ordinances, and I feel like that should be something, because of the interest that's growing in our area as well, that should be regulated in the city, and I think that would come from Henry and possibly Andrew number 2 for that. So the request is to hold food truck rally on Thursdays at South Park from 11 to 4. It's brought forward by Nicole, but there are other places that, or other food trucks in the area that we would want to get involved as well. So would you like to hear from Nicole on her request? Is that okay if she speaks for a few minutes? Okay. So Nicole is here now. I just started talking about your request and how you brought it and the different areas. So if you want to stand up and kind of talk about like what you did at Park Board. I know they were both working on the food truck tonight and got hung up on that. So if you want to step up to the podium here, state your name and your address, you can have a few minutes to talk about your proposal.
Hi, my name is Nicole Zelmer. My fiance and I are starting a food truck in Waupaca this summer. Hopefully we will be done by early July is our goal. And yeah, basically the event that we would like to propose for the city is for a weekly food truck event in South Park with all local food trucks invited, including our own food truck, and it would go from 11 to 4. Each truck would be responsible for their own electricity, water supply, and cleaning up after themselves. And and each would have to have full city permits and licensure to make sure that they're following all the legal issues there. Yeah, and if there would be any other events going on in South Park at the time, like I know there's one going on around 4th of July, then we could either join that event or just go around to the week after. And I just think that it would be a great event to not only bring people to the parks, but also give people that are attending the park already something to eat and provide just local fund for the area. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Any questions for Nicole?
Actually, I do. 11 to 4, why would you stop at 4 o'clock rather than catching people like myself who get out of work at 5 o'clock and want to catch something on the way home from dinner?
We had talked about that, whether extending it, and honestly, if it was continuing being busy, I would be willing to stay later, but we wanted to cover at least the lunch period and the time that people would be at the beach there. So I guess it kind of just depends, but we would be open for going later if that would be fine with everyone else too, I guess.
Curious.
Andrew, this item says July 11th through August 29th, and she mentioned July 4th. Is that going to be part of the?
I have it starting on July 11th based on staying away from the July 4th time and just needing some time to help Nicole coordinate this and get the word out to other food trucks and stuff. Kind of some of the other things that I'll talk about here are based on just having the 7 dates to try this as a trial.
Okay. So
period.
July 4th is out.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, there's too much going on in
There's a lot
that
going
park
on
at
in
July
South Park
4th. Yeah.
Yes, with food.
So that would not be a possible date.
Okay.
It would start after the.
All right, I got it.
Any other questions? I'll continue a little bit.
Well, this is a good opportunity to tell us what you're going to be serving in your truck.
Oh, yeah. So our truck, the theme is grilled food. It's going to be called Grilligans. And so we're serving brats, burgers, and varieties of chicken as our main dishes.
I guess my question would deal with the possible number. I don't know how limited you are, or what would you anticipate, like 2 trucks or 10 trucks, or are we going all the way around to the Hankey residence and so forth? Be a little careful there too. I don't know how you'd regulate that.
That's a good question. I think, I'll talk about the proposal of the area and how many I feel like we could get in there, and it'll be regulated through our office. So I could go out and take measurements and set a set number, the first whatever that sign up for it. So that's a good point, though.
Could you mention, I don't know if you touched on the fee structure?
I will in just a second. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And the paperwork side of it as well.
Mary?
I'm just curious about the price point of the things that food trucks are selling. Could you mention just a range of costs for?
I know it depends on the truck, but as far as our prices go, I think they're very reasonable. They're around like $6 to $8 per main meal, and it varies depending on getting sides or drinks or whatever with it. But I know some other trucks are probably closer to around $10. So it just kind of depends.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Lori?
Andrew, could you move, if it got to be more trucks, could you move some of it down to the lower level? Because the steps connected.
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. It's kind of hard to judge how many will be interested. I only know of 3 other trucks in the area, like the general area, that, like, including Manawa and those other areas. And so I think it would be good for this first year, if approved, because it is just a trial and to gauge interest and then possibly get to some sort of ordinance. I'm fine with limiting it to a certain amount of trucks to keep it from, just to have a number.
Anybody else? All right, you can continue, Andrew.
Thank you. So those are the dates that we would allow this to happen from 11 to 4 or 11 to 5. What time do you get done with work there?
5 o'clock.
I like the 11 to 4. I think it's a good time based on traffic through the park during this time. So things that were discussed at the Park and Recreation Board would be the fee structure. It was brought or agreed upon. We talked about a fee for each time. They like the idea of a seasonal fee. And so we would set that seasonal fee at $75 to be involved with the food truck rally for those times. And you're signing up for all those times. If you can only make 5 of them, you can only make 5 of them. The fee is the fee. That would be collected and managed by us. On top of the fee, food trucks are regulated by the state. I reached out to the county health department about what is entailed, and it's a state license unless they're selling just in Waupaca County. He talked to me about that a little bit and talked about what license they would have for that. So it's up to the food truck vendors to make sure that they have the appropriate licensing, and I would work with the county to make sure that we're doing things correctly. They also have to be fully insured. If you take a look at the third page of this, and it started on 155, so looking down a couple pages, there's a sheet that I put on there that Green Bay uses for their food trucks and food truck rallies. I would make a very similar sheet so that we have all the information as far as their insurance, their carrier, their numbers for their state and county licensing to make sure that they are doing exactly what they need to be doing to be a licensed food truck and to have insurance for that. So we're not just going to let someone with a trailer come in selling, hamburgers off the back of their trailer. They have to be legit food trucks and have to cover all those different things to be able to be part of this food truck rally. So the next page down, I can find out the page number there, is a map, 158. So that's the proposed area that was agreed upon through Park Board as well. So that is the far side away from the playground parking lot where they would have their windows faced into the grass to keep people who are using or getting food from the food trucks out of the parking lot so that they're being safe and they're in the grass, and just making sure that we're keeping people from being hanging out in the parking lot where there's cars going back and forth. So that would be the proposed area for that. And that's really the things that I came up with to make this to move forward. So essentially what we're looking for tonight is just approval to give this a try on a trial basis for this year based on those stipulations and a sheet with making sure that they're licensed and fully insured and the seasonal fee at $75. So
Thanks, Andrew. If there's no more comments or questions, I'd be looking for a motion.
I asked one question about, I saw the Green Bay sample here, and it talks
Correct.
about the certificate of insurance, and it says the city of Green Bay is an additional insured. Now, we don't have any monetary cost in that, right? They somehow just add us to their policy, or is that what we're looking at too?
So I would not, that would be a good question that I'd sit down with Kathy on. I'm not looking to follow this word for word. It's just wanting to make sure that I have all the permit numbers and the insurance carriers and the fees and stuff.
If there's some liability we may incur, we should investigate that, we're covered too. However that would work, I would say.
Yeah, I think that would be a good conversation with our insurance carrier to make sure that, if there needs to be something on this sheet, we'll definitely get it on there for that. Good question.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, be looking for a motion, please, to approve.
I'd make a motion to approve the request to hold a food truck rally at South Park. with the above stipulations as were explained to us by Andrew.
Second.
Moved by Chestnut, second by Keeland, to approve the request to hold a food truck rally at South Park on July 11th, 18th, 25th, August 1st, 8th, 22nd, and 29th, 2019. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item D, special use permit Stephanie Munch, Jason Kinzinger, agent for 506 Highland Drive.
Yeah,
Henry.
I'll take that. Thank you, Paul. This item is on page 159 of your packet. Our zoning code requires a special use process if you are a property owner owning, well, an R1 district of over 1 acre, and you wish to build a garage of a little bit over 1,000 square feet. I think it's 1,008 square feet. This particular property owner wanted to build a 3-car garage, so we have to do the special use. There was a public hearing held at the last Plan Commission. There was no public comment, either for or against. And the Plan Commission reviewed the request and is recommending your approval of the special use permit.
Okay, thanks, Henry. Any questions or comments? Okay, I need a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Second?
Moved by Keeland, second by Martin, to approve the issuing of a special use permit to Stephanie Munch and Jason Kinzinger, the agent for 506 Highland Drive. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item E is resolution number 1432, preliminary resolution declaring intent to levy special assessments under municipal police power pursuant to 66.073 Wisconsin statutes. Justin.
Yes, thanks, Council President. This resolution is shown on page 172 and 173 of your packet. Now, this is a preliminary resolution regarding the same topic that we had the public hearing on, the assessment and replacement of sidewalks. So the same aspects apply. That's our sidewalk replacement program, which is assessed at a 50% rate back to the adjacent property owners. Those property owners and their information are listed within the resolution. We have all the information filed here within City Hall, and those people can come look at its public record. So basically, it's just a preliminary resolution, and again, the final resolution will not be approved until July 16th.
Okay, so we need to approve the preliminary resolution tonight, correct?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments for Justin? Okay, I need a motion then, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Fair, second by Olson, to approve resolution number 1432, preliminary resolution declaring intent to levy special assessments under municipal police power pursuant to 66.0703 Wisconsin statutes. Any further discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Steve Hackett.
Aye.
Lori Chestnut.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
Mary Fair.
Aye.
And Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Item F, annual inspection report, licensed establishments. Chief Hozell.
Thank you. That report is on page 174. Throughout the year, our office, the officers, sergeants, myself, we go into all the different places that have liquor license in the community. We check to make sure that they have their liquor license posted, and we also check with the people that are working to make sure that they have bartenders that have licenses on the premises. And what I have attached is the contacts, if we had any, with any of the establishments that are in the city of Waupaca. There is minimum contacts with the establishments that we've had. I guess if there would be any questions, I would take them.
Okay. I would need a motion to approve the report, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Hackett, second by Chestnut, to approve the annual inspection report on city licensed establishments prepared by Chief Brian Hosell and place it on file. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item G, an extension agreement between the City of Waupaca and Hart Law Offices. Attorney Hart, would you like to go over some highlights of the agreement, if there's any changes?
Sure. And the letter that was sent to Mr. Belliker from our office with the draft of the extension agreement is on page 178, I believe it was, of the packet. In a nutshell, Hart Law Office has contracted with the city for a number of years, and the original contract indicated that it would be subject to additional extensions if either party wished to renegotiate the terms of the agreement. They could do so upon 6-month notice. So that's what this letter is. The significant change here is a bump up in the hourly rate from $150 an hour to $175 an hour. So this extension agreement then would take place the first of the year.
And it would be for 1 year?
2.
2 years, okay. Any questions for Attorney Hart? Okay, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Keeland, second by Prochatsky, to approve the extension agreement between the City of Waupaca and Hart Law Office for an additional 2 years with a rate of pay to be $175 per hour. Any further discussion? It's a roll call vote.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Scott Prochatsky,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
and Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, item H is a 2019 snow blower purchase. And Justin's going to handle this one.
Yes, thank you, Council President, once again. My memo can be seen on page 180 of the packet, followed by our bid request and the bid we received. This 2019 snowblower purchase is part of our capital purchase, our equipment, I should say, for 2019. We budgeted $160,000 for the purchase. Now, a snowblower is a piece of equipment very specialized for snow removal, so obviously it's very important to us, central Wisconsin, and for our downtown area. Our mechanic, Jake Waller, and street superintendent, Roger Hansen, basically worked to put together the spec. We visited other municipalities and vendors to see what would fit our needs the best. We came up with that specifications and put it out to bid. We only received one back. However, we were only expecting 2 at most, just because of how specialized the equipment is. The one we received back was actually the preferred the preferred model of blower. So it worked in our favor. The bid we received in total was $142,215. Approval tonight would allow for the delivery sometime in October or November. So hopefully that would be for the first snowfall. Upon arrival, we would sell off our existing snow blower and then just put those funds into equipment replacement fund to be utilized later. Would just like to note that 187, sheet 187, shows the bid price. Now, there is a base price followed by some optional items, and we're asking for all of those. Optional items A and B are basically skid plates, which put the wear on these skid plates instead of on the equipment itself, so it should prolong the life of the piece of equipment. C and D are shear pins. They're basically designed to break before anything else because they're little metal pins. They're easy and the cheapest thing to replace. And then finally, the last alternate is a JRB coupler, which is a specialized coupler that bolts onto the tractor that we will be using for our snow blower. So all that put together, once again, I'm looking for approval not to exceed $142,250. Thank you.
If you can get it out, I'll make the motion to approve.
And I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Hackett, second by Chestnut, that council approves the purchase of a LaRue D40 snow blower in the amount not to exceed $142,215 from Casper's Truck Equipment of Appleton. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
and Mary Fair.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Okay, item I is Waupaca area triathlon street closures. This is an annual request, and Henry's going to handle it.
Thank you. This year's event's going to be Friday, August 16th, and Saturday, August 17th. The Potato Bake and Kids Try is Friday, and then the main event's Saturday. It's not too late to sign up. You got a couple months yet to train if you'd like to participate. This request is the same as in the past in terms of our street closures. The memo, oh gosh, well, it's right behind Justin's stuff. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, 190. And thankfully this year, I don't think we're going to have any curveballs on the bike route portion of the event, because last year there was some unanticipated road construction. So yeah, it's our normal request. This is our 19th annual event. So it's a regular request. You need to approve those street closures.
Okay, thanks, Henry. Any questions for Henry? I need a motion to approve then.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Keelan, second by Peterson, that council approves of the following street closures for the Waupaca area triathlon. Friday night, August 16th, from 5:45 to 7. Main Street from Badger to South Park, with all cross streets closed for the kids triathlon bike race. Saturday morning, August 17th, 6:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. South Main Street, Lake to South Park. Lake Street, South Main to Berlin. And Berlin Street, Lake to Park Avenue. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item J is a license report number 1453, operator's license. Henry? the comment?
Yes, again, that's on page 193. These are what we routinely call our bartender's licenses. It looks like we have nobody pending any payment, but these would be approved pending background checks and payment of any fines owed to the city. It doesn't look like we owe any, so our office would recommend passage.
Okay. Need a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Chestnut, second by Hackett, that council approves of license report number 1453, operators licenses pending background checks and payment of any monies owed to the city. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, item 10, issues and project discussion. No action required. We have Lake Area Management Plan that Andrew is going to set up for us.
Thank you, Council President, again, and council members. So what we're doing here tonight with this presentation is just to go over and continue a conversation that we've had as far as the health of our two inland lakes. Friends of Mirror and Shadow Lake, as you can see, has some representatives here as well. They've been spending much time and effort over the years to keep our lakes healthy. It's important to us to keep our inland lakes healthy because we do have our beach in one of those lakes, 2 shelters, 2 boat landings, and 2 fishing piers as well. Friends of Mirror and Shadow Lake has requested to be able to have a couple members speak for a few minutes. I don't know if you want to do that now or towards the end, Council President. I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter to me.
Why don't we have them come up and speak, just introduce your name and address, and I think you said about 3 minutes apiece, a couple minutes apiece, so.
3 will do, yeah.
To Carol Elvery, 33 Shadow Woods Lane. Well, thank you for giving me 3 minutes, Mr. President and members of the council. In a way, I don't have a lot to add to my letter, which you have in your folders, I understand. Covers all the sort of soft and pretty things, reasons for doing this. But what I want to talk about is the fact that the hard fact is that it's the only way to be eligible for DNR grants is to have an updated lake management plan. You have to have a lake management plan. It's got to be approved. It's got to be current if you want to get DNR grants. You instructed Andrew last August at the Lake District budget meeting when he was asking for, I think, a total of 2,200 contracted services, that he should find some grants to pay for that. And he has found how to get to that, and that's what I want to speak to. When Friends of Mirror Shadow Lake started in about 2004, the Lake District, as far as I can recreate, had a balance on hand of $24,000. The next time that I was much aware of it, because I wasn't, I was just a member, they did fund 2 phosphorus studies. They bought a new aerator for Mirror Lake. There was some goose deterrent attempts and shoreline restoration on Mirror. And the balance that I can figure out that was present when they started 2011 was $15,000. And that's when we found Eurasian water milfoil in Shadow Lake. And it hadn't been anywhere, no one had found it. So it was quite a shock. And we were recommended to get a rapid response grant and have it a herbicide application. And we were allowed to get that because we were in the process of doing a lake management plan. So they assumed we'd get one, and they let us do the grant. So in 2011, a half acre of Shadow Lake received herbicide treatment for just under $13,000. And the grant did pay for the part of that. We also had a grant that year that was helping us pay for the lake management plan, just as what we are proposing or asking you to approve this year to have another organization do the update lake management plan. So then everything ran pretty nice for a few years, and in 2014, we found Eurasian water milfoil in 2 very separate spots. One, the original site, and it was recommended that it was too deep, so we had to have scuba people, certified people, to pull it. At that time, we had volunteer firefighters, and they did pull it as best as they could. They really never received actual instructions except video to look at. They also tried to continue that in 2015 and 2016 because it continued to be present. 2017, we got snorkelers from Golden Sands who thought they could be more effective, and we had found some in Mirror Lake. We had not, before that, ever discovered Eurasian water milfoil in Mirror Lake. The snorkelers couldn't really get it all because it was still deep. And then last year we had scuba divers from Golden Sands. They covered the liability and all that for the divers, so that was really good. And they spent 2 days and did the best they could. And then we now have an estimate from them to come back in 2019 to, again, keep it out, to pull it out. The problem with having aquatic invasive species in a lake is that you will always have to practice management control of it. You don't get it and get it out and never have it come back. If you hear the stories from the chain, they're getting herbicide treatments every year. We think that the scuba treatment is far to be encouraged, and our infestations are not nearly so bad. So Andrew has reached out to this organization that is what they do. They both help with lake management plans and then help with the control. And they would recommend the best management practices ongoing based on their studies. They need to do a whole range of studies on the lakes, which they would do next year. But in the meantime, we have to continue to control what we've got before they come. And they also would help fund grants to update the plan, so they would help us to apply for the grant that will fund what they do and help us figure out how to apply for grants to control AIS. That was quick. I don't know if I'm 3 minutes. Any questions?
Questions for
Thank you
Carol?
very much.
I have no questions, but I do want to make some comments myself when other people have finished.
Okay, all right.
Is there anybody else that wanted to speak, or are we just? Okay.
Judith.
Have at it.
Judith Schwanek, 206 East Session Street. I just want to say that I think it's imperative that we take care of our lakes and that we support the plan so that we can take care of our lakes.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay.
Both Mirror and Shadow Lakes are within my district as well as my ward, so I'm personally interested in this. I'm also a member of FOMSL, and at a previous meeting, we talked about introducing this issue to you so that you're aware of it, so that at our August Lake District meeting, we can take action on this plan. We're not asking for action tonight, just to introduce you to the subject, let you know what's happening. We have not only Eurasian water milfoil, we also have curly leaf pondweed in both lakes, and we also have zebra mussels. So we've got to get ahead of this if we want to maintain the natural beauty of those lakes. I can't think of any other cities right offhand that have 2 lakes spring-fed within the city limits. And this is really a treasure that the city has, and we've got to protect it. And so I urge you to take this very seriously when the time comes to vote on the lake management plan.
Thanks, Alan. Anybody else? Or Andrew, you want to continue? Or
Yeah, if no one else. I think they pretty much said most of the rest of my memo, so we'll kind of get through it here. So as Carol was talking about, I have had this conversation here and with Park Board before about, going after some grants for aquatic invasive species. Through many conversations with the DNR, with Ontario LLC, flat out, the DNR representative said without an updated lake management plan that talks about AIS in your lakes, you won't have much of a chance at the grants. And so we came upon Ontario LLC based on recommendations from other local lake districts. Stratton Lake used them, and they came highly recommended. So we've been working with them as far as how it goes, and their proposal is attached, so please take the time to look through that at some point, and you can let us know if you have any questions about that. The cost breakdown is on the back page as well, so as stated, they would do the grant application. If received, it would cover 67% of the cost of the lake management plan. Some of the other money you can notice is from in-kind donations or work by Friends of Mirror and Shadow Lake, which they are always willing to do and step up when needed. So the final actual cost for the Inland Lakes Fund would be about $6,500, just over $6,500 of the total project when it all comes done at the end. So that amount is more than we will have in the Inland Lakes Fund at the end of the year. As Alan stated, we're just trying to get the information out to you now so that you're aware of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. So when we come back to that Inland Lakes Fund budget meeting in, I believe it's the end of August or the last meeting in August, we will be coming forward and making some requests at that time to accomplish this lake management plan and other aquatic invasive species services to make sure that we are taking care of our 2 pristine inland lakes that we have. So attached is the proposal as stated and the letter of support from Friends of Mirror and Shadow Lake. So we can answer any questions at this time. If you have any specific questions on the proposal or about a lake management plan, or why we're doing this, or if you do read it at a later time, feel free to reach out to me to ask questions as well. So.
Any questions for Andrew?
So Andrew, if we hire this firm, they won't start doing their surveys till next year? Or will they start, or do we need to hire them yet while the weather is, how does the timeline go?
Yeah, so essentially, they've made their proposal. They would be in a holding pattern at this time because they know that it's based on approval of some funds. It would start after that, and it really takes quite a process. I believe there's a calendar in here. Let me find the page.
I think 205 is probably one.
Correct. 207 actually. So approximate schedule. So yeah, you're starting in 2020. They start with some water samples. They have a kickoff meeting. They actually do a survey to all the landowners on the two lakes. As far as that, they'll start to work on a point intercept plant survey. So that's a point to point. They do a survey at each thing, and so there's a lot of different things. And so it takes the wrap-up meeting and the final reports actually wouldn't happen until 2021 because it's such a long process. But they would need to know, they would start the grant process right away because the grant would be due in December, I think is the change. The DNR changed the dates to December. So they would write the grant and have everything to set that grant proposal for 2020. If that makes sense.
Okay. But obviously they wouldn't do any billing then until.
Correct. Yeah. All this
even
is.
though they wrote grants, I guess that's my question.
So it's all based on actually getting that grant.
Okay.
And they, the person that, another recommendation for Ontario LLC was our grant writing specialist at the DNR that we work with. And so it's not a sure thing, of course, but the way they write it and how well they do with it, it's a pretty good guess that we would get the grant based on how they've done them in the past. So, yeah, all of it. They would start the grant as soon as we had approval that we would have the money for it. So,
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Andrew. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Communications and recommendations to the mayor, I know of none. I hope he's having a good time in Hawaii right now.
We should call him.
I'm sorry?
So we should call him.
Yeah. Hope he's golfing.
6 hours earlier.
Yeah.
Were they 7 hours behind?
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Hagan, second by Keelan to adjourn. See, I got to read something about this, don't I? Okay. To adjourn until the next regular council meeting on July 16th, 2019, subject to call. And don't forget, we have no council meeting on July 2nd, and we do have a committee of the whole meeting next Tuesday. Right? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No? All those not in favor say no. Okay. All right. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:49. Thank you.